MacArthur Foundation has always been a pioneer when it comes to biodiversity conservation or to funding environmental work. And conservation really has been part of the Foundation's work since the very beginning, since the Foundation was created. The Foundation's work has always been focused on solving problems on the ground, and we have chosen the most important areas from a biodiversity perspective, those areas that have the largest number of species, the highest levels of endemism, species found nowhere else, the places where you can get the greatest sort of return on your investment. And today, of course, the conservation program is a well-established program that has influenced conservation in many parts of the world. Within the next few decades, we are looking at some huge changes in terms of how we live as individuals, and changes to the landscape, changes to the world. A lot of that is driven by climate change. There's a lot of development, a lot of infrastructure development as a result of an ever-increasing human population that by 2050 will reach 9 to 10 billion. The services that people require for their sustenance and livelihood really still, to a very significant degree, depend on the natural world. Fresh water, fish in the ocean, fish in rivers, and so forth. And the need to produce more and more food, the need to respond to alternative energy sources and so forth, really put very significant pressure on the last few places where biodiversity exists. And yet those few places are absolutely essential to provide support for people's livelihoods and support for developing societies. The Foundation's conservation program has always been practical. You know, it has really been area-based, and most of our investment has been on the ground, trying to solve problems, trying to protect species, trying to protect areas. We really will continue to be area-focused, but we are also now making resources available to focus on some of those major policy issues that are affecting biodiversity, people, and land use decisions globally. So in terms of where we are heading, you know, we are really reflecting in the new strategy for the conservation program some of those changes that we're seeing in the world. We are focusing much more at the drivers of change. So some of these root causes that are driving significant change in the landscape are better understood and under control. We are focusing much more on the livelihood dimension, what drives people, what motivates people to do what they do, and what can motivate them to ensure that biodiversity and natural resources remain part of our world. We will be in fewer places over the next 10 years under the new strategy, but we will increase our investment in those places, and we will expand geographically some of those individual areas. And we will have a marine focus, which will not be specific to a certain place. Will be a global marine focus that is looking at coastal marine conservation, in particular in areas where local management, community-based management can be supported. What excites me about the new strategy is that it follows a history in the Foundation of working on these areas. The focus on the drivers, on these core issues that are really changing the landscape, for me, is absolutely necessary and very exciting to work on. It's not easy, it's not going to be easy. It's going to require partnerships with other donors, with other foundations, and a series of partnerships with many different organizations. The goal of the new strategy really is to ensure that biodiversity continues to not only exist, but play a role in people's livelihoods.